This week in the news, Apple agrees to a $113 million settlement for Batterygate. Theo Epstein steps down after 9 seasons leading the Cubs. And NASA's new Mars rover is hearing vibrations in space. This week in history, the Cuban Missile Crisis finally ended on November 20th, 1962, in response to the Soviet Union agreeing to remove its missiles from Cuba. U.S. President John F. Kennedy ends the quarantine of the Caribbean nation. I am your host, Tooclevermafia, and this is the Tooclevermafia podcast. Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome back. Thank you, AJ, once again for another lovely intro, and we are back. The Tooclevermafia show is back once again, and, well, before we get into our main discussion of the day, we're going to be talking a lot about Google Photos and how it's not free anymore. We are going to break down this week in the news. Apple Computers announced that they have agreed to pay $113 million, folks, to settle a 34-state, the Batterygate lawsuit you all may have heard of. Yeah, they agreed to pay $113 million to 34 states and the District of Columbia to settle the allegations that they broke the consumer protection law when they systematically downplayed the widespread iPhone battery problem this was way back in 2016. This was also in addition to $500 million that the company has already paid to consumers over the issue earlier this year. If you might have gotten a little pamphlet in the mail and been asked how many phones that you owned that were involved in the whole process. But Apple already paid $500 million, $500 million. Wow, already. Wish I had a tenth of that. I mean, the issue basically was that a newer version of iOS was causing older iPhones to shut down unexpectedly, and that updating or fixing the issue was kind of throttling the performance of the older devices. In essence, the accusations, we'll call them, because it hasn't been proven, I don't think, that Apple was kind of trying to force you to buy a new device. So that was big news. Big news in tech. And then over in sports, Theo Epstein steps down after 9 seasons leading the Cubs. That kind of a surprise, but it really Theo Epstein, he's the guy who transformed the long time losing Cubbies up in Chicago, and finally helped bring home a World Series championship back in 2016. So he's stepping down after 9 seasons. He was the club's president of operations, and this was this past Tuesday, and general manager Jed Hoyer is being promoted to take over Epstein's place. And now Epstein also, going back for those of you who might not be that apprised of what goes on in the sports world, just to kind of give you an overview. Back in the day, the 46-year-old Epstein, who grew up near Boston and actually helped the Boston Red Sox break an 86-year drought and finally win the World Series championship in 2004 and 2007. And he's one of only the 5 executives to win titles with multiple organizations. So that's pretty tough to do. And they're usually the fellas that make the calls with hiring the big free agents and all that stuff. But I don't, from what I understand, Epstein will remain in Chicago with his wife, and he has 2 sons. And he says he'll likely become a season ticket holder in the Cubbies organization. He'll be sitting in the fan seats once. I'm sure he'll get box seats. Don't let him fool you. But he'll be one of those guys with the masks on when baseball resumes, hopefully back in the spring. In science news, you have NASA and the new Mars rover, which we did a podcast about a few months ago. But the new Mars rover is hearing vibrations in space. So NASA recorded the audio from the Perseverance rover that is currently headed to Mars, and the audio is largely vibrations, they're saying, traveling through the rover's body and being picked up by the microphones that are installed on the rover. And the Perseverance is slated to arrive on Mars in February of 2021. Not too far off, only a few more months, and Perseverance hopefully will be there. So they're pretty close, actually. They're pretty close to getting where they need to go. And but to help kind of hold us over, if you head over to NASA's website, I think you can hear the vibration sound. So before we get into saying it's kind of some sort of space music, it's important to remember there is no air in space, folks. So hearing things doesn't work in the way it does on Earth. But in fact, it doesn't really work at all. Sounds and vibrations are carried through the air, but the microphone on the Perseverance rover is capable of picking up the vibrations flowing through the body of Perseverance. Now, hopefully it doesn't mean that the thing's just falling apart or it's getting too cold or something's going on with the actual machinery. But head over to NASA if you want to take a listen. So we are back. The Too Clever Mafia show is back on air, and we got a new little format here. We're going to give you the news so you can listen to that quick news while you're on your way getting your coffee in the morning, and hopefully you tune into us for the news of the week, and we are going to give that to you in a fashion that's quick, easy, and we're going to kind of pick out the good stories and all the different topics of tech, politics, sports, science, business, and of course, if you've heard our history, this date in history. So before we get to our featured story, check us out on tooclevermafia.com. Also, join up on our Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or any of those things that we have out there on social media. It's at Too Clever Mafia. But if you do anything at all, folks, help us out by subscribing to the podcast, whatever app you're listening to us on, whether it's Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, any of those. Just subscribe, like, and that way you don't miss a show and don't miss our special news broadcasts when they come out. And we really do appreciate it. If you'd like to support our show, you can head over to Anchor or check in the links below, and you can help out our show. And we thank everyone who has supported our show and allows us to keep growing and growing and growing. And AJ's finally got his a new chair over in his sound booth, right, AJ? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is it comfy?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm good. I'm happy to hear that. Maybe I'll get a new chair one of these days. I don't know. Mine's getting kind of old, but we're going to take a short break and we're going to get back to our story about how Google is no longer going to be free. Google Photos is going to start charging. They're going to give you 15 gigs, which is nothing. And a lot of folks have been backupping their photos for years and years and years on Google Photo. And they're joining the money game now, folks. They're getting into like Apple and so many others, and they're gonna start charging, and we're gonna have to come up with some other options. But don't worry, Too Clever and our team here has got some great ideas on how to get around it, some other options and alternatives, and kind of give you what you need to do and how to back up your photos, get them off of Google, all that kind of stuff. Coming up right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Well, hello. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, Mafians. Welcome, new listeners. Welcome, AJ, over in the sound booth.
Hello.
AJ, how was your weekend?
Just another boring weekend.
Wonderful, wonderful. We got a great show for you today. A lot of people have been asking us the new Google Photos. Have you seen those news articles yet, AJ?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Well, the new Google Photos is ending, and for a long time, a lot of people have had unlimited free storage. And well, we're gonna go over what you need to know. We're gonna tell you what you need to know, so you don't have to sift through all of this nonsense. But Google Photos will soon be capping your free storage at 15 gigabytes. Now,
That's horrible.
over the years, they've had 5, 10, 15. At one time, I think I even got a promotion when I purchased a new phone. I think it was HTC or something like that. And they gave me 100 gigabytes free for a couple of years or a year, I forget. But when it ended, you had all your stuff on there, so you had to kind of move it around. But now it's a big problem. Now they want to encourage people to sign up for their new service, Google One. Kind of a lot like Apple's new service. They've kind of done their combined billing with their cloud services and their subscriptions. So, but yeah, Google Photo is ending. It's going to end its unlimited free storage policy for photos and videos, which was one of the big things I liked about Google Photos was it also did the videos because Apple had an issue with iPhotos and all of that, switching, getting the videos on there. So you would lose a video and you didn't know where it was because it didn't automatically upload to the cloud.
Yep.
But yeah, Google said, I think it was last Wednesday, they said in a blog post that after June 1st, 2021, any photos and videos that were uploaded will count toward your 15 gigabytes of free storage. And of course, you can purchase more if you want to, but that's tough. That's a tough sell after all this time, right, AJ?
That's
And,
nuts.
yeah, I wouldn't, uh, I don't know. I've been looking into other storage solutions, and I know AJ has been as well, because you got things on there. You got photos, you got videos, and, if you use a cloud storage, the idea of it is, you want it to be convenient so you can use all the services. But a lot of these companies, they want you to sign up for something. They want you to get into that subscription cycle where it's, infinity profit. It wasn't one. I saw an interview, AJ. I don't know if you saw this interview. It might have been a year ago or two, probably 2019. And Wozniak, the guy who was with Steve Jobs and Apple,
Yeah.
he one of the things he was surprised about, is back in the day, you'd buy something, people would invent a wonderful product and they would buy something and then you'd end up being able to purchase that product. But now it's not about inventing a wonderful or one of a kind product you know, that one shot deal where you're going to create something that's going to change the world. It's more about just getting you on the hook,
Uh-huh.
getting you on your subscription. So that way, once you start it, then they raise the price on you
Yep.
and then you're kind of stuck with it and you really don't have any choice because then you have no other options.
Yes.
But you got to look into some other options there, but don't worry. Google says that any photos or videos you uploaded before this June 1st, 2021 cap won't be a part of the cap. So you can keep your stuff on there. And I got to say, AJ, I think that's not going to last.
Yep.
I think they're going to eventually say, hey, this is going to sunset the program and it's going to expire and you can no longer keep your photos for free just stored forever because I'm sure some people have gigs and gigs and gigs of byte. So I'll tell you what I did real quick before we get into some more of the details of this is as soon as I read this, I went out and I said, I'm going to uh, look for clouds, not a cloud storage, but I'm going to look for a hard drive. And I went and did a lot of research on different hard drives. And then I'm worrying,
Sure.
even though I don't think I've ever had a hard drive fail, maybe one time, but I'm worrying, well, if I back all my photos and stuff on one place, which is not good because the rule of redundancy, right? You want two spots for your stuff you're trying to save and archive.
Yes.
But uh, you look around, and I think if I saw there was a backup for eight terabytes, which is probably more than I would ever
That is
need.
not
I
bad.
think I only got 500 or 600 gigabytes of photos and things like that. And then I have my computer, which is a couple of terabytes. But anyway, was looking around and I'm like, well, I like the idea of the cloud storage. I do. And I think a lot of people do because it's not on site. And if something was to happen, you have it safely in the cloud.
Yeah.
But I think the amount they're charging for data is super expensive. If you look at a hard drive, right? A 2 terabyte hard drive, I saw it at the Costco. Went to the Costco. It was like $60 on sale. I think they normally run for around 100 or $89, $90, $100, whatever. So, but if you want to pay, uh, let's say Apple, it's $10 a month, or Google. I think it's $10 a month for two terabytes. So you're paying $10 times 12. That's $120 a year
That's crazy.
for cloud storage. Yeah, you do have it available. There are some conveniences, right? You do have it available 24/7 wherever you are, as long as you have a device that can connect. Tile, because unless you have an iCloud device, an iPhone or something of a Mac, something like that, you can't access your cloud stuff. Where if you have Google, you can download on your iPhone Google. I think it's Google Drive, and then there's a Google Photo app as well, and you can download those on the Apple. So you can't do it the other way. So as far as that goes, it's definitely more versatile with the Google setup.
Sure.
But so I'm looking around and I'm trying to figure it out, and I still don't know what to do. I was thinking of having a nice hard drive set up for my photos and backups and all of that stuff, and then maybe having a cloud service, just the basic stuff. For I think it's like 40 gigs on Apple or something. I don't know. And then they give you 15 gigs on Google for free. That's not it. What are you going to do with 15 gigs? So they're going to have to.
Nada.
Uh, yeah, I guess my point is they're going to have to figure out the pricing structure a little bit better. A little bit better. They're going to definitely have to update that pricing structure to make it more convenient and more in line with what you can get storage. I mean, yeah, you're paying for the convenience, but anyway. So the it's a good idea. It's always a good idea to make sure your photos and videos are backed up. If you have any, you can try to you know future future proof it, so to speak,
Yep.
by putting all your stuff in Google Photos before the June deadline of next year, right? But uh, there's definitely going to be, so you can kind of get them around the exemption limit and go and sync everything. But the 15 gigs is not gonna last you that long of a time,
Nope.
especially as phones get better and the video qualities get longer. You get the 4K.
Yep.
It's just a matter of time before you have 8K and 20K. Who knows? But did you know? Yeah, did you know that 4 trillion photos are stored currently in the Google Photos universe? 4 trillion.
Amazing.
And that's according to a post I read, and it said with 28 billion new photos and videos are uploaded every week. So I can understand why Google is like, hey, listen, we're doing all this stuff for free. I mean, I don't know. What is Google doing with our photos? They archiving our faces and making the world an archivable database. I don't know, but 28 billion new photos and videos uploaded each week, and they also they changed their app recently too to help organize some of the photos. But Google Photos, if you need a tip, we're gonna look. I'm gonna give you the directions, not step by step. I'm gonna tell you how to do it the Too Clever Mafia way, fairly quickly, so you can go and upload all of your photos if you like to your computer, and then save them to an external drive or switch to another cloud platform. It, it, I did it. I did it over the weekend. I did that just to have them. Wasn't sure if I'm going to keep them all on the Google platform. I'm kind of angry with Google, honestly, for doing this, but I definitely downloaded it, and I'm going to go into all the details. I will tell you, you can only download them in 2 gigabyte files. So, like I said, I had quite a few um, files, and you download them into your computer in a zip format, and then you can decompress them and all that stuff later. But at least you have an archive, a backup,
Yeah.
uh, and they keep them in the high quality,
Sure.
all that stuff. So I'm gonna let everybody know how they can do that if they wish. We're gonna take a short break. I'm gonna get something to wet my whistle here. Check us out on www.tooclevermafia.com. And if you do anything at all, folks, if you're listening to us on whatever podcast app you're listening to us, just like and subscribe. We really do appreciate it. It helps us, it helps me pay AJ and, and the little change that comes through this channel.
I need a
But
raise.
yeah, AJ's going to have to start paying us to work here. That's what's going to happen, right, AJ? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we really do appreciate if you like and subscribe. And if you'd like some more information about the show, check us out on social media at Too Clever Mafia. And you can always, if you wish, you can always drop us a line at tooclevermafia@gmail.com, an email address. And you can, over on Anchor, if you want to support the channel, which a lot of you have been doing, we really do appreciate it. You can check us out over there on the Anchor homepage at Too Clever Mafia. So it's everything Too Clever Mafia. Really, AJ, right? That's where it goes. So we're going to take a short break, and we are going to let you know how you can get all of your photos back from Google and take control of your photography. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is your host, Too Clever Mafia. You are listening to the Too Clever Mafia podcast. And AJ, did you realize in the last segment your microphone was actually on the whole segment.
Really?
Yeah, you did. You did a yeah. I happened to notice that, and I was listening back, and it was good stuff. You really applied some nice color commentary. Nice color commentary. But keep it up, AJ. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
So those of you who aren't paying attention or won't pay attention until next year, Wednesday, November 11th, Google announced that it was going to change its policy and no longer going to offer free unlimited storage for their Google Photos. And up until now, you were able to save whether you were on iPhone or Android, or I guess any type of Android Google device. You could store your photos and videos in what they considered high quality, which were, I guess, HD. I don't know if that included 4K or not, but that's neither here nor there. But the company is basically effective June 2021. So you got 8 months somewhere in that range. You got to figure something out. But the company is going to start charging you if you exceed 15 gigabytes. They're going to give you 15 gigabytes, and the price is going to give you 100 gigabytes if you want to buy it. Will be, I think it's going to be like $3 a month or something like that, and then you can pay annually and whatnot. But if you don't want to pay for the service and you're planning to switch to any other service, then you need to learn how to get all of your data out of Google's brain, so to speak, right? And and for this, you got to visit something which is not really advertised as well, and you probably will be the first time you're hearing about it because Google doesn't want you to know about it, right, AJ? They don't want you leaving their service. They just assume that you stay with their ecosystem and you keep paying them more and more money as they keep raising the prices and changing their plan. Although I gotta say, for the longest time, they were the best. I personally used Google Photo to back up videos and um, photos, but because it was free. So I guess most of us will take advantage of it. It's free. It was decent quality. So here it is. There's something called Google Takeout. Okay, Google Takeout, and you probably say, "What is Google Takeout? Is that some sort of food delivery service?" No, no, it's not. It's not at all. And Google Takeout is basically a service that lets you take all your data, any data. This could be anything from your web history to your photos to your locations, your map, all that stuff. It allows you to take all your data that you have stored within Google, whatever it is, amongst all of their Google universe of services, and you can download all your data from one spot at once. So if you want your contacts, if you have a Google Drive, cloud storage, YouTube videos that you've watched, anything associated with Google can be downloaded from this Takeout website. So you can easily back up all your data from there, and your Google account won't be affected by this. However, you don't get to kind of filter out what albums and what photos you want and what you don't. So if you want to, it just dumps all of your data, all of your photos, and it allows you to export them all out. And so basically, how it works, if you're interested in doing this, and I would suggest folks you do this for your photos anyway, because if you don't want to pay for them and then you go over the limit, they'll be grandfathered in, but th- who knows what's going to happen next. You should always have a backup copy somewhere, whether it's on a portable hard drive, which they're inexpensive enough these days, or some other cloud service as well. I mean, I know people have 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 photos sometimes on there. And it would be a shame to lose all of that stuff in one fell swoop. And Google is a very respected, and it's a very safe service to use, but things happen, folks. So, you don't put your stuff in other people's hands, and in so to speak. Yeah. So you're going to go to takeout.google.com, and the website kind of explains everything from there, and you can uh, basically just make a copy. And what they'll do is what I did in my case was we took the option to export them all. And I don't know how many hundreds of gigabytes we had, but they only, uh, they'll send you a zip file, an email of a zip file, and you can download it from directly from Google. They send you an email with a link, and you can download up to 2 gigabytes at a time, and then you get them in a zip file. And then once they're on your computer or wherever you're going to save them, you can decompress them or just archive them if you want as a zip file, and you're good to go. And then you have a do. It took when we I did it over the weekend, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be doing this, but using the Google Takeout, you it took a couple of hours to get, and then once I got them, it took some time to go through because you know hundreds of files. So I think I had I don't know 50 or 60 links. I don't remember, and you had to download them all one at a time, and it took a while, and it uses some data. So hopefully you're not over in your data on your whatever provider you have. But I would definitely not do it over cell connection. Probably do it over your home Wi-Fi if you have that option. So next, if you didn't know um, what options to use instead of Google, if you don't want to pay Google or you don't want to pay Apple, but
Nope.
a lot of questions have come in about what is the best cloud storage. If you're not going to use Google and because you don't want to pay for them, or even if you did want to use them, but still, who is the best? So everybody has their own opinion on this, but when it comes to organizing, backing up your photos and enjoying your photos, which a lot of us are very, uh, that we care deeply about all of these photos, and we have decades upon decades upon decades of photos. You know, some of my grandkids that were born in the early 2000s, and we got so many photos that are just digital, and year over year, they just the quality of the photos keep getting better and bigger. So you kind of go down this snowball effect of needing a place to store them. So uh, the best way, in my opinion, to manage photos on your iPhone or your iPad or your Mac, or whether it's a Google Photos versus iCloud situation, you know, people want to know what the best way is. What's the best option now? Cloud photo management, we'll call it, has become something only the big tech companies uh, can offer due to the ever growing cost of storing files and increasing media quality. So, over the years, many companies have come and gone and left the consumer with only a few choices. Some have merged, and I think I had one that was it Flickr? I had Flickr that was bought out by somebody else. But it was Smug Mug. I think Smug Mug we had for a while, and they were bought out. They just started you pay an annual fee, and they were really good for a while. They were kind of equivalent to Google Photos, but you were able to keep your full size videos and your quality. So there was other companies out there like Everpix, but they just couldn't stay in existence long enough to gain that market share just to be profitable. You'd have to get a large market share for these things to be worthwhile. And so today, basically, we have three company choices, right? You have Apple, Google, and Amazon. And for most people, it comes down to picking Apple or Google because, let's face it, Amazon is not known as a photo storage company. They do have that option available, but they're not really the mobile device. Uh, they're not one of the big mobile devices in the world. So we kind of stick with our Apple and our Google because it keeps us in that that universe, right? That universe they say, AJ.
Yes.
So when it comes down to either Apple or Google, we look at the benefits and the weaknesses between both of them. And, which one do you decide? Do you decide Google Photos or iCloud Photos? So we're going to start with Apple iCloud Photos. And if you're using a Mac or an iPhone, iCloud Photos has its advantages. It's native to that iOS, right? Your camera is hooked up right to your iCloud and your iPhone. And if you have a photo app like let's say I don't know Instagram, and if your photos they're right there. And if you want to use some sort of editing tools, there you can give them access to your entire library. You can use an app, and there's just so much advantages if you're within the Apple ecosystem to stick with the Apple products. Now, iCloud Photos on a Mac, uh, it's light years ahead. I feel of Google. Did I just say Google, AJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Of Google's interface, I feel. Although they did just update it, but managing the photos on the desktop, you can make all kinds of custom albums and it's a lot of just drag and drop and Mac has recently started getting on your Macs, you can get a 1 terabyte drive. You can keep your copies offline as well if you want to work with them for editing and whatnot. What makes it more convenient if that's the kind of stuff you want to do. And there's all kinds of backup machines. They got the Time Machine backup for Mac, and there's all kinds of things that are just native to that Mac ecosystem. And you don't have to have an entire amount of storage on your device if you're in the cloud. You don't need a big hard drive if everything is working in the cloud, but they only give you so much. I think for like a couple of bucks you can buy like 50 gigs or something like that, but I mean that's more. A couple of videos will take that up. So you can't have a whole lifetime worth of photos and videos, with the free service they give you. It just doesn't work that way. Apple gives you 5 gigs for free, but if you want to have any decent
It's
amount,
on
like I
the
said,
screen.
it's $1 for 50 gigs. Thank you, AJ. Yeah. And it's 2.99 for 200 gigs and $10 at this time for 2 terabytes. So kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier, 2 terabytes, you times that by 12, that gives you about $120. You can buy a 2 terabyte hard drive, especially with the holidays coming up, probably for 80 bucks. So locally, you have it. It's portable, but I guess it's not as available as the cloud. And I guess could you hook you can hook a portable hard drive into an iPhone, right? If you have an adapter of some sort,
Yes.
or yeah, you can. Oh, okay. Thank you, AJ.
You're welcome.
But the main weakness of iPhoto is the lack of a family kind of setup. The shared albums, and then you kind of got to worry about the security. I mean, you can always AirDrop them. Apple has what they call AirDrop, where you can send from device to device fairly quickly, which is incredible. There's also some other services you can use like Dropbox and whatnot, and Apple has a way for families to share. I think they're going to work on ways for families to share different libraries you can set up in the future, which works great if you have grandparents or grandkids and you want to see them, or the grandparents want to see the photos and have quick access to them. And so that if you have an iPhone, that's probably your best option, but you're kind of stuck with that. And then now your Google Photos. Now, Google Photos is a Windows, it works with Windows, it works with Android devices. It even works on Apple devices, which is a big plus. And the pricing is about it's about the same. I think for they don't have a 50 gig option. They got a 100 gig, which goes to show you 50 gigs is really not much any at all. But for $2 you can get 100 gigs. For $3, just like Apple, you can get 200 gigs. And again, for 9.99 a month, you can get 2 terabytes, which is also the same as Apple. So, but they're going to discontinue the free stuff that they've been giving you all this time. So you have to kind of you basically they're putting themselves in the same boat as Apple. Hey, you need to choose Google or Apple. You choose one or the other. You got to pick one of those, one of the two, and then you can go for there. So I guess at the end of the day, you want to know what solution is best. And it's hard because it really depends on what you have and what you're working with, and not only what you have, but what your family has. Because if you've got a family full of iPhoners, if that's even a word, AJ, is it?
Nope.
Yes, thank you. And or if you have a bunch of Googlers, then it might be better for that, for sharing photos, amongst each other. If it's just a matter of inexpensive backups for your family photos and whatnot, then well, you can pretty much choose whatever one you want. But both services offer fantastic experience, and I've had a fantastic experience with both services. But they both have their pros and they both have their cons. And Apple offers deep, deep integration with their iPhones, their Mac, and their iPads, which is what they do. That's what they do. Now, Google, it's a little bit more of an open kind of platform, and they offer a robust and family share options that we were talking about. And Google's automations are probably just a step ahead of Apple in terms of automatically creating movies and memories. That you get these kind of things on the app, and it says, "Hey, we created a movie of your cat," or "We created a movie of your family." Or I just got one when I was doing this over the weekend. It was pretty neat. They sent me one that was created, "Smiles of the Month," or no, "Smiles of the Year." which in 2020, there's probably not been too many smiles, but any photos you're taking, it kind of found all the smiles. So they definitely have that AI. Is that what you'd call it, AJ?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, the AI is definitely working hard to pick out those smiles and whatnot. So,
Very
but
interesting.
the if you're heavily involved in that Apple ecosystem, it's hard to kind of say that the iCloud photo is not a benefit, and the I you just it's almost you have to kind of pay for it and bite the bullet, and it's worth it if you're in that ecosystem.
Sure.
Now, if you start to move everything now to Google Photos, which I did years ago, I backed a lot of stuff up in Google Photos just because it was cheaper. Uh, but it's not going to be anymore, then now you gotta kinda decide, "Hey, do I stay in Google Photos or because I'm heavily involved in the Mac ecosystem or the iPhone or the Apple or whatever you wanna call it, do you wanna go back to the the Apple world, the Apple universe, like I said earlier?" So, but in my opinion, the real winner when you're considering Google Photos versus iCloud I I is you and I, AJ, and the listeners and everyone listening and the Mafians, because both options are great. And I think as the competition, in a way, by Google not making it free any longer, and kind of almost dollar for dollar matching Apple, you're going to have a situation where you might have a little bit of a price war, unless Apple and Google. But if one of them goes up and the other one goes down, then now you have a serious, because, like I said before, Google works across all of the platforms, right? So you could decide what you want to do from that point. And it comes down to personal preference. And if you've had good experiences with one or good bad experiences with the other, you go from there. But I'm kind of in the middle right now. Like I said, I've downloaded all my photos, right, AJ? You've done the same. And I'm gonna wait and see atmosphere. Do I want to up my iCloud storage or I kinda that might be my option because I'm already kind of there in the iCloud. Is that what they call it? The iCloud? Yeah, I guess the iCloud, right?
Yeah.
And as opposed to having Google, which is not really part of the iCloud services. And I gotta tell you, one of the things use your iCloud or you use whatever it's right there on your phone. Google Photos and your iCloud Drive is there too. But I've noticed with the Google Drive, there's definitely some compatibility issues, and at least in the past there were. If I don't know if it was Apple causing the issues or Google, but they were definitely kind of, we really don't want you using this type of file type, or we're not going to recognize this type of file type. So to kind of make it really not the easiest to deal with the one platform on the other, but maybe that's changed. We'll see. What? Yeah. Well, I don't know if maybe they'll, maybe Apple will make an Android iMessage app, but then they probably lose a lot of their
No
Apple
way.
folks, or maybe not. Who knows? So don't forget to check us out, folks. If you're enjoying what we're talking about, if you're getting some knowledge, and we like to say knowledge is power here at the Too Clever Mafia podcast. But check us out and like us on your podcast app that you're listening to, your podcast app of choice. And very important to us. That's all we ask. You'd like to follow us on social media. We're available on all of them at Too Clever Mafia. Sure, you can find us, or you can check over our website, www.tooclevermafia.com. And we're going to take a short break, and we're going to wrap this up. I got one more little tip for you around this whole Google scenario to see if it can maybe make it a little easier in your transitions, to tell you something else that we came up with as a viable solution. Would you say that, AJ? Yeah,
Well,
I think it's a viable solution to to either cloud services, and that would be. Oh, do we want to give a hint? Do I want to give a hint now, or do I want to wait until the next segment?
sure.
All right, I'll give you a hint. It has to do with setting up your own cloud services, and not having to pay a monthly subscription. So we're gonna briefly touch into how to do that. It's very, very simple, because if I was able to do it and AJ was able to do it, it's very, very simple. But we're gonna give you a little bit of tips on that, and we're gonna wrap up. And I'm gonna give you my final word coming up right after this short break. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome, Mafians. Welcome, new listeners. Welcome once again, AJ. Thank you for another great job over in the sound booth. And
Sure.
we are going to finish up today. And just wanted to give you a couple of alternatives to either the cloud. We finishing up about not being able to use Google for free anymore. And some of us, 15 gigs might be enough. I got an estimate. Google says 15 gigs should last you 3 years in the cloud, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how true that is. Maybe one person using it, maybe in very low quality images. I don't know. But then either, what do you do after that? After the 3 years? So we've got some other alternatives here, and the Too Clever Mafia podcast wants to help all of our listeners out, right, AJ? And we are, AJ. Why don't you give us an intro? An intro into the next segment, if you will, or this. I'll give you a hint. The final segment.
Time for the final words.
Not bad, AJ. And you gotta really announce who we are, Okay. Let us know. Let the listeners know who we are.
The Too Clever Mafia Show.
Not bad, AJ. Not bad, and let everybody know who you are.
Sound booth guy.
Oh, okay. All right. Enough with the sound effects, AJ. We're gonna finish off here with what alternatives folks have to using actual cloud storage and some of the work I've done. And I've been doing some reconnaissance work, trying to figure out what was the best hard drives to buy. But there's a hard drive. It's 8 terabytes right now in Costco, and if I don't know, it's on sale for around $100, and 8 terabytes is a great deal. You do have to plug it in, though. It does require, they call it a desktop hard drive, and you can plug it in, but you could set it up for a Windows PC to do automatic backups and all that fun stuff. And you can even format it if you have a Mac and you want to use the time machine option and utilize some of it for the time machine and some of it as a backup storage. But that allows you to have your own kind of desktop storage. And then obviously another alternative would be to have just a portable $60, $70, a couple of terabyte hard drive, which doesn't require any power. But I think the largest I've seen, and I don't know if anybody's seen any other ones, but the largest I've seen is about 5 terabytes that doesn't require power. Now, I'm sure there's a reason for that, but that's the largest I've been able to see that doesn't require power. That's in the portable status. But there's also Western Digital makes a what they call a My Cloud storage, which is like a server. It's almost like your own cloud that you can access from the internet. You can access from an app, I believe, and you could store your own items on your own personal cloud and access them whenever you want. You would obviously use your own internet, and you would want to have a backup to that as well. There's also, if you really want to get fancy, but we're not going to do that on this podcast. But there's servers you can set up. They're called NAS servers, where you have multiple hard drives that copy multiple parts of information and whatnot. So, but I would suggest getting yourself either a desktop hard drive with backing it up, or using a portable. But always have at least two sources where your data is backed up if you're not going to use the cloud anymore, because we're talking about very important things. And there is something to be said about having the cloud storage off-site, using these services like Apple and Google, because if something, God forbid, was supposed to happen to your home or wherever you stored your physical hard drive or the device or computer, or even your backup cloud or whatnot, it gets damaged, you lose everything. So you wanna consider that option as well. So hopefully, you learned a thing or two, AJ, today. I know some of the Mafians wanted to send some of these questions came rolling in through the Twitters and the tweets and the Facebook and the Instagram and all that stuff. But hopefully it opened up some people's eyes, and we just want you to think about it and really start to question what's going to go on in the future. And if you haven't heard about this whole Google photo thing, check it out, look into it. And before we sign off today, uh, just a little note. To get through my day, I generally require a lot of caffeine. Now, AJ does not use the caffeine. He does not use it, and there's a lot of people that don't drink coffee. And but a little bit of a note here. I drink a lot of Mountain Dew. Yes, Too Clever Mafia drinks a lot of Mountain Dew, and I don't need the calories according to Mrs. Mafia. So I generally would drink the diet Mountain Dew. And I went to the store the other day and confused. I dazed and confused. I walked out of there because I go into the soda aisle in the food store, and there's Diet Mountain Dew, which is usually what I would get, and then there's now a Mountain Dew Zero. And I said, well, what is the difference between a zero and a diet? I always was just under the impression that zero and diet were the same, one and the same. It's just kind of the new age way of saying, hey, it's diet, right? So I didn't really look much. I just grabbed my usual diet drink that I get, and I grabbed that and went home. I ended up having this conversation with one of my grandkids, and my grandson said, "No, no, pop up. They're not. There's a difference between the diet and the zero. They're not the same." And I said, "Well, I think they look the same. I mean, they I've tasted them and they've tasted the same, but I'll just stick with the diet." And he said, "No." He said that the zero is actually better for you. If you read the ingredients on the back of the label, the zero has less salt or sodium, and surprisingly enough, according to the label, has more caffeine. And I said, this can't be right. So I went to the food store again, and I grabbed the labels, and I'm looking at and sure enough, it was correct. So now I've been drinking the Mountain Dew Zero, and I'm bouncing off the wall. I can't have it in the evening after a certain period of time, but I gotta tell you, you gotta check those labels on the new ones, because they went from there was a lot of diet sodas. They have the Coke Zero, and then they had Diet Coke, which I've tasted those. They taste different, really different. They had the Sprite Zero, the Diet Zero Sprite, and went to Sprite Zero. Then Pepsi's got a few of them all. And so check out those labels, folks. Just kind of off the beaten path here today, but check out those labels between that zero drink and those diet drinks, and you may be pleasantly surprised, and maybe in a good way. Yeah, yeah. Well, pleasantly is a good way, I guess so, AJ. So, I think is it time to get out of here, AJ?
Yes, it's time to go.
Well, thank you, Mafians. We are going to wrap this up today. And thank you, AJ, once again for your color commentary. So we will, maybe we'll have to shut your mic off next week. I don't know. I don't know if I got to pay you anymore now that you're a official on-air host. Oh, boy, I'm in trouble. Okay, so then for all of us here at the Too Clever Mafia podcast, I am your host, Too Clever Mafia, and that is all I have to say about that. Bye-bye for now. Take care.